So I'd just like to give you all a welcome to this webinar. Thank you again for your time in joining this. What I'd like to do, if you've not used GoToWebinar before, is just have a look at the options available on the right-hand side. I will be recording this webinar, so that will be made available to everybody afterwards. So hopefully we don't have any technical issues and you're able to hear me clearly. If you do have any difficulties with the audio, you can either post a question and just let me know, or through the chat you can type a message here and I'll double check those as we go along, just to make sure that everything is working. So we do have a couple of other attendees joining, so may just give it just another minute or so and then we'll start. So again, just let me know if you have any problems or if you can't hear any audio, okay, or just post a question. Okay, so let's make a start. Okay, so what I'd like to do is we have a certain amount of time allocated for this webinar. I do have a number of brief slides just to showcase the MSc program, and just towards the end there's a list of commonly asked questions. So hopefully you'll find that useful and interesting for you. And then the rest of the session is purely down for you to ask any questions, either through typing them, and I can deal with those as they arise, or if you would like to use your microphone, if you click on the attendees, there's a little raised hand icon. If you put that up there, I can unmute your audio, and then you can ask the question to which everybody else can hear. Okay, so there's a variety of ways. Hopefully you can get my attention and ask some questions that which so you can get the most out of this session. Okay, so let's make a start. So my name is Kevin Hughes. I've actually spoken to a couple of you during the application process, so it's great to see the names that I recognize coming up on the attendees list. So you're obviously all interested in this MSc program. So one of the things to stress is that this program is delivered off campus. So what that means is that we're not actually based at the Uxbridge site. We're actually based in the head office of TWI at Granta Park, which is located 11 miles sort of southeast of Cambridge. Now this has distinct advantages for you attending this program. This is probably one of very few programs which is heavily embedded with industry. So Brunel University London is the lead academic partner in NSERC, which is the National Structural Integrity Research Centre. And this is a new state-of-the-art postgraduate training facility, which is designed to train the next generation of structural integrity engineers. Now this is through the taught MSc program and also through PhD programs through NSERC, in addition to working on research projects. So the NSERC is a valuable partnership between TWI and Brunel University London, and as part of the arrangements, Brunel delivers an MSc program here at Granta Park. So one of the advantages is that this MSc program has quite a high industrial involvement. Something like 45% of the MSc program is taught by TWI specialists. Okay, so you'll be getting access to engineers that are doing the work that they're teaching as part of their jobs and the commercial operation of TWI, in addition to working with academics as well. So this industry-led program runs throughout the whole program in terms of the modules and the exposure to the cutting-edge research that both Brunel and Twi are involved with, and most importantly, through your industrially supported thesis project. We'll talk a little bit more about the MSc program in a couple of slides. But it's quite nice just to see in the bottom right-hand side the types of careers that this program can lead to. So there's a strong reliance on finite element analysis. So it's really important to be able to analyze a structure numerically and have confidence with the results that come out. So you can make an assessment as to whether or not the structure can carry the loads, or if there's any design changes or change in environmental conditions, can we understand what the implications are in terms of the load carrying capability of the structure. NDT is an important aspect, in addition to sort of working in careers where you're looking into asset management. So this could be for life extension, to see whether or not if a structure that was made, say, 20, 30 years ago, is still compliant against current codes. And as part of that, looking into risk-based management inspection strategies as well, and how to remediate any risks that can occur. A big part as well, so a lot of our graduates come through, spend their time here at NSERC, and they've already have a job lined up for when they finish. Some students go back to their home countries, and some students stay and apply for jobs here in the UK. But we do have quite a number of students that decide to carry on with a PhD program here at NSERC as well. So there's a lot of advantages of sort of being based here in terms of helping developing your career. Another thing to point out is that the MSc program is accredited with the Institute of Mechanical Engineers and also the Institute of Material IOM3. Now, so these are two professional bodies that have externally assessed the MSc program, and the learning requirements that come out of this MSc program satisfy in part professional recognition in terms of chartered engineer. So this may be something new to you, but here in the UK, once you've done your undergraduate or postgraduate degrees, then typically you gain employment, and it can take anything up to 5 years to gain sufficient sort of work experience to be able to get a professional qualification of your work, and that's typically through a chartered engineering program. So this MSc program offsets some of those requirements. So if you are just thinking about working in the UK, this MSc program can help you to work towards your chartership. And in addition, we also have advantages of being parts of these two organizations in terms of seminars and events that these professional bodies organize as well. So there's a very high industrial involvement in this MSc program, and hopefully you'll see that as the presentation carries on. So let's just have one slide which just summarizes the MSc program. So effectively, it can be categorized into two areas. So what we're trying to do is to provide industry-relevant training for the next generation of structural integrity engineers. And that typically falls under two aspects. The first one is looking into finding defects within a structure. And if you're able to detect these defects, we need to be able to understand the implications of these defects. So do we need to be able to take the piece of equipment out of service and repair, or can the structure carry on in its operation, but maybe at a slightly reduced capacity? So being able to understand the implications of defects is one of the key areas of the program. So to be able to understand those two key areas, then there's a variety of sort of technical areas that you need to have a good grounding in. First off, you need to understand how materials are manufactured and how they can carry load. Looking into how structures can take these loads, and what are the consequences if, for example, a component or a part of a structure has a defect and there's a reduction in load carrying capability. Does that result in the catastrophic collapse of the structure, or is there enough redundancy in the structure to be able to carry on and perform its intended function? Understanding the environmental effects on the structure. So for example, if there's going through a very high heating and cooling cycle, This can generate quite significant thermal stresses, and ultimately this could result in accelerated fatigue of your particular component. So trying to understand how the environmental effects can also affect the load carrying capability of the structure is important. And finally, to build on that, we need to understand how to be able to measure stresses and strains in the material and take detailed measurements in situ. So one of the areas is sort of structural health monitoring or condition-based monitoring, and these are sort of recognized sort of buzzwords in the industry, and this program will provide training in those areas. So to look at how the structure of the program is set up, well, as you can see from the diagram at the bottom of this slide, we have a series of compulsory modules. Now, each of our modules are 15 credits, so we have 6 compulsory modules. So looking into stress analysis and plant inspection, understanding how the underlying metallurgy of the material will change its mechanical properties, and what the influence is of the environmental effects on those materials. Fracture and fatigue, that's an important aspect of this particular program, to see how cracks can initiate in a structure, and then try to work out when or how these cracks can propagate in a structure, and understanding when the material is going to fail. Reliability engineering is another important topic area, and this is trying to understand how you can assess the safety of a particular system, and this covers methods and protocols for quantifying the reliability of a flaw analysis and detection by inspection, and try to understand any uncertainties in those measurements and what effect that can have on your assessment of a particular structure. Non-destructive testing, that covers the inspection techniques and methods to be able to analyze a structure. So this covers sort of ultrasonic testing, eddy current testing, right the way through to advanced methods including phased array, ultrasonic testing, and thermography. So this not only covers the practical application of these different types of techniques and their advantages and disadvantages, it also, or TWI also provides you with training in how to actually define an inspection strategy and making sure that's compliant to international standards. So this again is one of the novel sort of industrial involvement and the benefit you have of studying this particular program. Codes and standards basically cover the design codes associated, for example, with weld and weld quality, and also being able to understand the standards for carrying out structural integrity assessments. So typically this is covering sort of BS 7910 and API 579, and looking into fitness for service, failure assessment diagrams, engineering critical assessments. If you're familiar with those types of words, that's what's covered in those particular modules. So that forms the sort of core part of the module. And then the program branches out into 2 specialist modules. Numerical modeling, this covers finite element analysis, and this is being able to develop a numerical model or a numerical representation of a component, and to be able to provide different types of loadings, to understand, for example, how the stresses can vary in a structure, and then we can take this output from this finite element model and you can run that through fatigue software to be able to predict the life of a particular component. So we understand that numerical modeling is an important part of being a structural integrity engineer. And if you look at just have a look at the types of jobs that are available as a structural integrity engineer, then you'll see that numerical modeling or finite element analysis can be commonly found in these job requirements. Structural health monitoring covers damage detection using vibration data. So again, this is delivered in sort of parallel with an expert from Brunel University and also from a specialist from TWI. So you get to learn about the different types of methods available to be able to try to detect damage location and also the size of damage using stress and ultrasonic waves. So through these 8 modules, this provides you with the technical knowledge to ultimately be able to work on an industrially relevant thesis project. Now this represents a project of approximately 4 months in duration. And if I jump to the next slide, I don't think there's any questions so far. If you do have any questions, please try to get my attention either by raising your hand or typing a question on the or a chat question on the right hand side. But if I just move to the next slide, you'll see, if I just move this presentation on, just an example of the different types of thesis projects which are given on the program. So these topics are provided at the start or very early on into the program, and they represent the interest from TWI and also from the academics which are based here from Brunel. Now all of these projects, as you start looking through these different types of titles, they all have a very strong industrial relevance and support from TWI. So through these projects, you'll be working with an industrial supervisor and also an academic supervisor. And these projects are a mixture of experimental work. This could be taking measurements either on small components or even on real components, sort of age structures. So you can see there's a photograph there in the middle of the screen of one of our students taking measurements from an aged pressure vessel, and right the way through to numerical analysis as well. So you can see on the right hand side of this figure the use of finite element analysis, looking into stress concentrations around the flange of a connection on a pressure vessel. So the projects typically have a mixture of experimental and numerical analysis to be able to address a particular research question as part of your project. It's not just dealing with metallic structures as well. We also do a lot of work on damage modeling within composite materials. So this opens up sort of careers in offshore sort of wind turbines, which is typically manufactured through composite materials. So trying to understand the differences between how a metal fails and also how polymers and composites fails. They are 2 completely different materials, and they require different analysis and or numerical techniques to be able to understand what the implications are in terms of how failure initiates in these materials, and ultimately how failure can propagate through as well. Another thing to mention about these dissertation projects is that some of our students that come on the program are sponsored by their companies. So I strongly recommend that if you are sponsored by your company, hopefully the list of projects that you see are of interest to you in your career path. But if there is a particular project that you would like to work on, or your company or as part of the constraints of the funding that your sponsor may give you, then please suggest, because what we can do is we can discuss with TWI and also with Brunel to make sure that we have the necessary facilities and also supervisors to be able to support those projects. So typically, what your MSc program is what you make of it. So if you really are quite proactive and driven, you will get a lot out of this program. Do you have any questions so far? I'll just have a quick look at I'll take a pause there and have a look at the questions. Okay, there doesn't seem to be any at the moment. Okay, but again, if you do have any questions, please post them or use the chat options on the drop-down menus there. Okay, so probably just one last slide is just to talk about where we are in relation to the UK. So on the left-hand side, you can see a map of the UK. You can see London is highlighted in red as a little star. So Brunel University, London, is sort of in the northwest of London, in Uxbridge. And that's where the main campus of the university is based. But this particular MSc program is based in the headquarters of TWI. and they're located southeast of Cambridge at a place called Granta Park. Now, it's important to be aware that most of our students live in the Cambridge area, and I'm sure Kathy Wells has probably been in contact with you and has sent you the accommodation brochure. But typically our students live in the Cambridge area, and they take advantage of the Granta Park shuttle bus, which shuttles you twice a day between Cambridge and Granta Park. So as part of being based in the company, this again gives you significant advantages over a typical student that's based at a university, is because you will be working alongside academics and industrial experts here at TWI. The picture on the bottom of the slide is the 3 buildings, which are the new buildings specifically built to house the sort of the day-to-day running commercial operation of TWI. But as part of the central building here in the middle, we have our academic offices. You have your dedicated teaching and computational labs, and this is where your research projects will take place as well. So you'll be based full-time here at Granta Park. So we have this dedicated teaching, research and experimental facilities, so we can undertake a wide range and support a wide range of projects, ranging from sort of component testing right the way through to full-scale testing as well. As part of this, you will also have access to industry standard software. So one of the finite element packages that we use is Abacus. So you'll get full training in the use of Abacus, and you'll also be exposed and trained on TWI industry standard software. So 2 of the main packages are CrackWise and IntegriWise. So as part of the codes and standards module delivered by TWI, you'll also get training in this software. So if you're already an inspection engineer, I'm sure you'll all be familiar with these 2 different types of packages. So as part of this MSc program, you will be gaining practical experience in using it, and as part of one of your assignments, you will be using the software to undertake an analysis. Another advantage of being based off campus is you have access to joint facilities at Brunel and also at TWI. And the other thing that we have is a dedicated high-performance computing facility that's actually based here at NSERC. So this enables us to take quite complex computational or numerical projects, and we have all the necessary facilities to be able to support those. So hopefully that helps just to show you a little bit about the location and where you're actually going to be based. If you do have any issues regarding accommodation, please get in contact with us or with Kathy, so we can help you to find your accommodation. Okay, I've nearly come to the end of the slides, and then I'll open this up to questions from you. But I think it was just useful just to summarize some of the types of common questions that I get asked about the program. So typically, just talking about how the course is structured. So you saw at the start of this webinar, there's 8 modules. Now these modules are taught in a concentrated fashion. So each module is 35 hours in duration. Now this could be a mixture of formal lectures with the staff, in addition to having experimental or numerical lab-based sessions together with tutorials as well. But we typically deliver these modules over 2 weeks. So you may have lectures 9 till 5, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of 1 week, and then the module will be finished off over 2 days the following week. So typically all modules are delivered over a 2-week period. So it's quite intensive, and it may be different to how your previous undergraduate degree or postgraduate degrees were delivered. So we don't deliver these modules, for example, over a single term. They're taught over a concentrated 2-week period, and then you don't get that module again, and you'll have an exam either in January or in April on that particular module. The course is delivered electronically, so what that means is all of the lecture notes are available through our virtual learning environment, which is Blackboard. So basically all that means is you just need access to an Internet Explorer or a browser to be able to download and access the course notes And those course notes will be made available before the modules are delivered. So this gives you the opportunity to sort of do some self-study beforehand, or just to give you an awareness of what's coming up in the module. It is important to stay on top of the modules. Because they're taught in this concentrated fashion, we do incorporate self-study periods during the delivery of a module. Now, these self-study periods are designed to give you a chance to catch up on what's been taught, to potentially arrange additional tutorials, or to come and meet the members of staff if you're having any sort of technical problems. So it's really important that you use those times effectively. And in addition, your assignments will be issued during the delivery of the module. So you can start working on your assignments as the course develops. So the assignments are run in parallel, like I said. So at the end of your 2-week module, you'll get given your assignment, and then you'll have anything up to 4 weeks to work on that assignment. Now, this will be done in parallel with the next modules that are delivered. So it is quite a busy time. You will be working quite hard, but hopefully you'll find it quite an enjoyable experience. And these assignments and the workload is designed in such a way to give you the necessary skills and training to be able to undertake your dissertation project, which starts in May and runs through until September. I mentioned before about the dissertation projects. So again, these are industry relevant projects, and you get given 2 supervisors, which will help you and guide you through the 4 months where you'll be working full-time on your project. Another unique feature of this program is, because you're based in industry, we have to comply with the working practices of the building. So you're able to come to Granta Park during the normal operating hours of the company, which is 7:30 till 5:30, 6 o'clock. Outside of those times, the building is closed. So to be able to allow you to carry on working and accessing the software required for your assignments, for example, so to work in the evenings or to work in the weekends, Brunel will provide you with the loan of a laptop, and this will be used for the duration of your studies. So what this means is, provided you have an internet connection, you'll be able to have full access to all of the engineering software to be able to work on your assignments. You'll have access to electronic resources in terms of the library, e-books, and so on. So this means that you're effectively a mobile learner, and you can work either at home, or you can use the libraries at Cambridge and make them self-study groups, but it helps you to work in the evenings and at weekends. So this is quite a useful addition to the program, and the students find it incredibly helpful to support their studies. So even though we're based off campus, it's important to make you aware that you still have full access to all of the facilities at Uxbridge. You're a 100% Brunel University registered student. So as part of that, you have access to the to ASK, which is the Academic Skills Service, the library, language support sessions, as well as the Professional Development Centre to help and provide guidance with careers and applying for jobs. So what we do is, a lot of these support facilities at Uxbridge do offer appointments or interviews either face-to-face, or you can do them through Skype. So the laptops that you have or you'll be provided with have an integrated camera, so you can arrange sort of Skype type calls to be able to access facilities, which is useful. But actually, some of the students do really value being able to actually spend some time physically at Uxbridge. So what the college has done is they will arrange a bus, a monthly transport to Brunel University. It's about 75 miles away, so it takes about an hour and a half by bus to get there. So typically what we do is we'll transport you over to Brunel University, and you can use those facilities, and then we'll give you transport back to Cambridge. So you have access to the library if you want to take some books out. For example, if some things aren't available as an e-book or a PDF that you can download, it's sometimes important to be able to get hard copies of books, and through this transport scheme that we've arranged, you can do that. The final questions that I normally get asked are about living in Cambridge, because you are an off-campus based student. Now, Cambridge is a beautiful place to live. It's worthwhile, if you haven't done so already, is to go on, for example, TripAdvisor, and you can take a look. So if I click on that, hopefully that should work, and it takes you up to the top, things to do in Cambridge, and you can see there's some beautiful sort of buildings there. Obviously, Cambridge and Cambridge University is a very famous university that's known around the world, and you've also got the corresponding outdoor activities, the nightlife, the restaurants. You've got the River Cam. So it's a beautiful place to live, and you have access to all of the facilities at Cambridge to basically make your time here at Granta Park an extremely enjoyable experience. And probably my last slide to finish with is, if you haven't received the two documents, we have one which is the course brochure, which is contains a lot of the sort of course specific information, and there's also another brochure which covers accommodation and gives you some guidance for living in the Cambridge area. Now, Brunel University does have access to a shared house, and if you're interested in taking that, this can accommodate up to 6 MSc students, and you basically can rent the room through Brunel University, and it's located quite conveniently on the right side of Cambridge, and it's something like a 15-minute walk to the Granta Park bus pickup point. So it's very, very convenient for you to travel to Granta Park. So hopefully you've found this overview useful and beneficial. So what I'd like to do now is I'd like to now try to, if we can, open this up to questions that you may have. So you can either type these under the questions drop-down menu, or you can put it through the chat, to which everybody will be able to see the questions that you have. Alternatively, if you want to raise your hand, I can unmute your microphone, and then if you've got the microphone connected to your computer, you can then ask your question. So I'll just give you a few minutes now just to collect your thoughts, and I look forward to taking your questions. Okay, so I'm hoping I've answered a lot of your questions, but if not, please, you can either get in contact with me through Skype. Okay, there's a question that's come through, so thank you, Annabelle. So the question is, do we have access to printers? And the answer is yes. We have a dedicated network printer here at NSERC. So as part of the teaching rooms that we have, we also have a dedicated 20 hardwired PCs. So in addition to your laptops, there are also some desk-based PCs here. And as part of that, we have a network available and a network printer and scanner. So you're able to scan, convert things into PDFs, and also to print and to photocopy as well. So yeah. Thank you for that question. Hopefully, I'll check to see if there's any more. You're welcome. Thank you, Annabelle. So talking about other facilities while we're here. Okay, there's another question from Anna. I'll answer that one in a second. You also have access to the Twi library as well. I mentioned before that you have full access to the Brunel library. So there's a range of ebooks. We have access to a lot of the key journals, and the vast majority of the journals that we subscribe to, you can download technical journal papers available as PDFs. But in addition, you also have access to a specialist TWI library as well. Now, this is staffed by TWI sort of librarians, and the TWI library is very extensive in terms of sort of the codes, the standards, and has access to significantly more specialist information than Brunel would have. So you've got access to both Brunel and TWI libraries. Okay, so great. There's some more questions that are coming through. So let's just try and take those through one by one. The first question is, are there any teaching research assistant or graduate research positions available to help students with their finances? So that's a good question. It's challenging to be able to do that because this MSc program is quite intensive. So the modules are delivered, there's 4 modules delivered in the first term and 4 modules in the second term. So as part of that work, you'll also be working on anything up to 4 assignments, preparing for your exams, and then ready for the second term's exams and assignments. So it is difficult to be able to offer sort of research positions, but we can raise that with TWI. Typically the dissertation projects, now I mentioned before that they're industrially relevant and industrially supported. So you will be working alongside TWI engineers and academics and researchers that are working on live research projects. So typically these could be European research projects that you'll be working a small part of. So because these research projects are still part of the learning experience of the MSc program, it's typical that these are not funded or you receive no payment for these projects. And that's important to be aware of. We can raise the question with TWI, but again, I think because of the intensive nature of the MSc program, I don't think that's really possible to be able to take on additional work. As part of your sort of student visas, your Tier 4 visas, if you're coming across on those, you are allowed to work up to 20 hours a week. So potentially some of our students will maybe get some employment working in a bar on evenings and weekends. So maybe that might be something to look into, but there is this 20-hour limit in terms of the maximum amount of hours a Tier 4 student can work for. So hopefully that's answered that question. There's another question where it says, where can I find the first guideline of the master program? I'm not 100% sure if I've understood that question correctly. So maybe, Anna, you could maybe expand on that question. But typically the program will start in September, and there's a period of registration here at Brunel and at TWI, and then the first module will start probably in the 3rd week in September. I can't remember exact dates, but I can check and I can forward that through to you afterwards. There is a local handbook for the MSc program, which will contain course-specific, more relevant course-specific information. And I can either send that out to you sort of a month before the program starts, but typically you'll receive that as part of the induction pack when you register and you arrive here at NSERC. But if there's a specific thing that you need, please let me know. I have previously sent out a synopsis or an overview of all of the modules, so that gives you an overview of the types of topics which are studied. I can also provide you with a reference list for recommended reading material. Now, I wouldn't necessarily recommend going out to buy these books, because we have 4 copies available here at NSERC, and the vast majority of the recommended textbooks, Brunel also has an e-book subscription as well. So you should be able to access the electronic copy of these textbooks as well. So hopefully, Anna, that helps to answer your question, but if not, please follow that up with another question. There's another question regarding the exams. The question is, are the exams in January and April? Yep, that's correct. Typically, the exam periods coincide with the exam periods at Uxbridge. So typically, the modules which are delivered in term 1, which runs from September through until December, they are examined in January. And then the second set of 4 modules, which are delivered in term 2, those will be examined at the end of term 2, which is just around the Easter time here in the UK. So typically the talk part of the program, all 8 of those modules will be delivered and finished by April, which then means you will be working full time from the 1st of May right the way through until your dissertation hand-in the middle of September, and that will be full time on your dissertation project. Okay, so hopefully that helps to answer the question regarding the exams. And actually, some of those modules some of them are based 100% coursework. So not all of these modules have an exam and an assignment. So for example, codes for structural integrity is 100% assignment, individual assignment. Non-destructive testing, for example, has a group and an individual assignment and an exam. And structural health monitoring, that's 100% individual assignments, but you work as part of a small group. So again, you know, these assignments and these assessments, they are testing sort of academic understanding, but one of the key things at master's level is making sure that you can apply this knowledge. Because when you finish this MSc program, you should be able to secure a job and be able to start working from day 1. Okay, and that's the key part of the MSc program. Okay. Okay, so the next question is again related to finance in terms of scholarships or loans to try to afford their expenses. Okay, yeah, that's a really relevant question. So thank you for posting that, Ahmed. As you know, we do have a limited number of scholarships available for this MSc program. Now these are partial fee scholarships worth £12,500. So there's the remaining balance of the fees plus your living expenses to be able to afford to study here in the UK. Now living in Cambridge is expensive, but you know, Brunel, through the accommodation that we're offering, we're trying to keep the costs as low as we can, and typically the accommodation is actually run at a slight loss to Brunel, but that's the way that we're trying to help you. In terms of additional scholarships, what I would recommend is taking a look at the Brunel website. If you Google or look on the Brunel website, you can search for funding or scholarships for international students, for example, and that may give you a list of potential sources of funding that you could apply to. Now, some of these have eligibility criteria. So some of these, for example, are only applicable to students from certain countries. So it's really important that you do have a look into that. And I would recommend doing that sooner rather than later, because some of these scholarships do have deadlines. And some of them may have already expired. But typically what we'll do is, if I can't provide any guarantees or any promises, but typically if there are any unallocated scholarships, of these partial scholarships, then and we're unable to allocate them, then what we will do is we will look to redistribute those scholarships to try to provide additional funds to help current applicants. But that's a big if. I would strongly recommend that you look into external scholarships or loans to see what is available to help you. So hopefully that helped to answer your question, Ahmed. After this webinar is finished, I will email around these slides, the list of these questions, and I'll write out my answers to these questions as well, just in case there's any difficulties with the audio, or you're having difficulties in understanding my accents. And I'll also point you to the corresponding external sites that you can apply to. Okay, so there's another question that's come through. Okay, and the question is structural integrity the only master's course carried out at Granta Park? Actually, there's going to be 2 programs delivered at Granta Park. Now, as part of NSERC is a collaboration between Brunel University London as the lead academic partner and also with TWI. So as part of Brunel being the lead academic partner, Brunel is the only organisation at present that's able to run master's program directly at Granta Park. So the MSc in Structural Integrity is one program, and that's been running now for 3 years. The MSc in Oil and Gas is a new program that will be coming online this September, and this will be the 2nd program that will be delivered at Granta Park. So there'll be two programs run by Brunel here at Granta Park. Okay. So you'll have access, because those 2 programs are related to a degree. And another advantage of actually studying here is the vast majority of the applicants are already practicing structural integrity engineers. They've either gone down through the inspection route, or they're already qualified welding inspectors, for example. So this really does add to the benefits of this program, because not only will you have access to sort of the networking opportunities here through the staff and the academics based at NSERC, but you've also got a fantastic support network with your peers on the program as well. And this really does add to the program, because some of the students may, for example, have a variety of external qualifications, such as C-SWIP, in a variety of different techniques for non-destructive testing, whereas, for example, some applicants may have never done any NDT before. So you can appreciate the benefit of actually working with your colleagues, you know, making self-study groups and working together on these assignments is really not only going to add to the quality of the work that you submit, but it's also going to benefit the learning experience that you'll have on the program. So I can't emphasize that enough, that there's going to be you know, a very strong networking and industrial aspect to this MSc program. Okay, there's a couple more questions that have come up. Okay, so again, thank you for these questions. This is it makes it more fun and more interesting for me as well. The next question relates to accommodation. And can you use a private residence like a friend's or a relative rather than the listed places in the brochure? And thank you for that question, Charity. Absolutely. You know, you are welcome to live wherever you can find here in Cambridge. So the reason why Brunel has rented out a house in Cambridge is because there are sometimes some issues regarding accommodation. Now, accommodation at Cambridge is really in demand, because you have all of the students that are studying at Cambridge University. You've also got a student part of Addenbrooke's Hospital. So you can appreciate the accommodation, you know, if it is available, it goes very, very quickly. Now, many of our overseas applicants typically apply sort of April onwards. And even now we're in the middle of starting to get into the first week in June, and I've already got another 4 applicants coming through now. So you can appreciate that to try to find accommodation for students as we get closer to the starting point of the program is really challenging, because you need a UK guarantor, and you may need to pay, you know, a significant deposit up front. So to try to help students, Brunel has rented out a house. Now, you're more than welcome to use this house, but if you prefer, you are more than welcome to live at a friend's house, or if you're able to find and make a rental agreement with another landlord in Cambridge, you know, we'll happily try to help you through that process, but you're welcome to do that. The only thing I would bear in mind is have a look at the accommodation brochure, or email me afterwards and just let us know where you're thinking of renting, because we have a lot of experience, or Kathy Wells has a lot of experience in helping students find accommodation, and we know the areas of Cambridge that we recommend that you should look for. And the reason why we do that is typically the rent is sensible, and also the areas that we recommend are in walking distance to the bus pickup points. So for example, there's no point in living northwest of Cambridge, because it will take you such a long time to travel across Cambridge to then get the NSERC Granta Park shuttle bus to then come to Granta Park. So if you would like to look at a private rent, please let us know, or please let Kathy know, and then we can either recommend or refer you to some landlords, and you can get in contact with them direct, and then we can also help you through the process as well. So hopefully that helps to answer your question, Charity. Another question from Annabelle regarding the dissertation projects, and it says, are all the projects based at TWI, or maybe in the UK or in another country company? Yeah, okay, good question. Typically, the projects are based here at TWI. Now, the reason for that is that TWI have invested a significant amount of money in NSERC. Brunel, through HEFCE, which is the Higher Education Funding Council for England, Brunel was awarded £15 million of funding to purchase equipment, and that equipment is been bought specifically to be housed here at NSERC. So the vast majority of the projects will be using this equipment. Now, a lot of this equipment is bespoke and very specialist. So that's one of the reasons why the projects typically are based here at TWI. It's sometimes a little bit tricky to be able to base a project within another UK company, but you know, the vast majority of our students will take a TWI project, because they're directly relevant to their career aspirations. However, we do also have access to a range of other companies and projects, and again, if there's something in particular that you have in mind, then let us know, and we'll try our best to be able to resource that. So for example, there are a couple of students on the program now that are not undertaking a TWI project. They're actually taking a project that's with the Brunel staff that's based here at the Granta Park, and they're through our sort of contacts and projects that we have. So for example, one of our students from last year, she undertook an MSc project in composites and looking into damage modeling in composites. Now, at the time, TWI didn't have any projects in composites, but we were able to provide a project for her to work on. So she was working here at Granta Park on this project, and now she's carried on. She's now registered. She's just come into the end of her first year of her PhD. So I'm looking at her now. She's just based outside my office, and she's still working here and contributing towards NSERC, but in the area of composites. So, yep, I'll summarize the answer to your question, Annabelle. The vast majority of our projects are based with TWI. There are potentially projects with through our sort of contacts with research projects, but typically working at another UK company may be a little bit more challenging because of the accommodation and the logistics and access to your supervisor. But maybe we can follow that up with another Skype call if I haven't quite answered your question fully. Okay, so Ahmed has popped up another question, and it says the majority of PhD programs around the world demand previous education of 18 years. So how does this MSc program of 1 year help if you want to carry on in further education. Okay, that's probably not quite correct. Typically here in the UK, a PhD program is normally 3 years. There are ND programs which are 4 years in duration, but the vast majority of people undertake a 3-year PhD program. Now, typically the entry requirements for a PhD program is either a good undergraduate degree, and typically a UK equivalent of a 2:1 or better, or a master's degree. Now, if you have, and/or work experience. So typically, the application process for a PhD is different to an MSc program. So you find, if you are interested in looking for PhDs, I would recommend going to findaphd.com. I'll just put that in the chat if you haven't come across that, phd.com. And if you go onto that website and type in NSERC, for example, you will see the current list of available opportunities for PhDs here at NSERC. Now, when you look into that, the application process, again, is a good undergraduate or postgraduate degree. 18 years experience, in my experience, is too high. I haven't seen any PhDs that stipulate that level of work experience. So we routinely, or we try to see if there are any MSc students that are interested in continuing with a PhD. So, for example, if you choose your MSc project in a particular area, let's just say you wanted to look into additive manufacturing. Now, there's a lot of research projects available in additive manufacturing, and one of our MSc students is working in that area for their project, and they've started a month ago. Now, what I say to the students when they're choosing their projects is, because you're working with an industrial and an academic supervisor for effectively 3.5 to 4 months, I would treat that like an extended interview, because this is your opportunity to learn more about the topic area and also to develop your own sort of working relationships with potential supervisors. So typically then, if a project comes up and the industrial supervisor knows you, or knows that, yes, this particular MSc student is very capable to work and apply for this project, then we actively convert MSc students to carry on with a PhD. Now, as part of the PhD application process, there's an interview with an independent panel member, and they also assess your suitability for an MSc program. But this is an important part of running an MSc program, because we give you the sort of the good grounding in the major topics that a structural integrity engineer needs. They also lend yourself to work on a wide range of dissertation projects. So hopefully that helps to answer your question. So if you do this MSc program, I think you will be in a very good position to carry on with the PhD, whether or not at Brunel or any other institution around the UK or globally. Okay, let me just double check to see if there's any more questions. PhD programs, done that one. Yep, I think we've covered that with Anil. Are we able to continue the PhD after? Yes, the answer is yes. Okay, so the next one is, being an international student, we have to leave the UK if unable to find a job in 3 to 4 months. So what is the job ratio after this program? Okay, yep, very good question. Typically, what I'll do is, if you haven't come across it already, I have a structural integrity alumni LinkedIn group. Now, I don't know whether or not you're familiar with LinkedIn, but it's a bit like Facebook, but without the drunken photographs. Okay, so this is a way of you sort of connecting, and if you join it, you will have access and see where our previous structural integrity graduates have ended up. So the vast majority are able to apply for a job. Some of them want to work on a graduate trainee scheme. So some students are able to apply direct. Some people go straight into a job. We've had something like 5 MSc students that have been directly employed here at TWI at Granter Park. So, for example, one of our structure integrity students from the first intake in 2014, 2015. She's now the industrial supervisor for one of our current students. So there are potentially opportunities here at TWI or at consultancy firms here in the UK as well. So I think you have a very strong likelihood of applying for a job. So, but what I would recommend doing is joining our LinkedIn group, and then you can send our previous alumni questions and just see what opportunities are available. Okay, so typically there's high employability after this program. There's another question about do students propose a dissertation topic, or does the university suggest a dissertation project? I think I may have answered this question, but I'll summarize my response again. We provide a list of something like 30 dissertation projects at the start of the year, which gives you the opportunity to have a look and see what those projects are about. Now, these represent interest from TWI staff and the Brunel academics based here at Granta Park. They could be new projects, which are very industry relevant, sort of hot off the press topics, or they could be a continuation from a previous dissertation project. So, for example, we have students who started one of these projects last year. Let me just see if I can pick up an example. This one here, implementing ultrasonic inspection of underwater structures using a submersible platform. Now, a student last year started to look into this project, and now there's another student carrying on this work. So the ultimate aim is to develop and work on real problems and to actually publish this results as well. So it's the advantage of the university and also TWI to really look into a topic in detail and really get out some really useful results to disseminate as part of NSERC. As part of that, if you do have any particular projects in mind, please suggest them. And if we're able to have the necessary facilities and supervisors to be able to support, then absolutely we can look to help you work on a particular project which either satisfies your sponsor or potentially opens up or steers your degree in the direction of your career or where you'd like your career to go. Okay, so hopefully that helps to answer that question. I'm just looking at another question that Annabelle's popped up. It says, finishing the MSc course at TWI NSERC. Okay, I'm not sure I particularly follow that question, but typically the students are based full-time here at NSERC, at Granta Park. So they'll start their dissertation projects in May, and then they finish the course, or they submit their dissertations the second week in September. Prior to submission, we also arrange vivas, so the students will present their work technically to industry, and this can also include our industrial advisory panel as well. Now, we have delegates that are external to TWI, so these are senior managers and directors within companies such as AMEC Foster Wheeler and DNV and so on, and we meet with this group once a year, and the students also get to meet with our industrial advisory panel. So you'll be doing a technical presentation, typically a poster, to the industrial panel, and they'll then get to sort of hear your views, and they'll also be able to put you in contact or let you know of any job opportunities that are available as well. So typically, yeah, the students spend their full time here at NSERC. Okay, so I'm just scanning back through the questions, and I think it looks like I've covered all of them. I'm just double checking now. So hopefully I've answered everything that you've asked. Again, what I'll do is at the end of this webinar, I'll write down short answers to these questions. So hopefully that will help if the audio isn't particularly great through this webinar. And I'll also send out this presentation as well. So hopefully that will help to remind you of some of the things that we've discussed this morning. Do you have any other questions? Okay. Well, if there are no further questions, then I hope you found this webinar useful. Again, if you do have any other further questions, then please get in contact through email. I go back to the first page here. You can see my contact details. I have my direct dial phone number, which may not be so convenient with the time difference, but failing that, you've got my Skype details, or you've got my email address as well. So please, if there are any other questions that you have, please don't hesitate to get in contact. And if there are no further questions, I'm just going to have one last check. Looks like there are no further questions. Then again, I'd like to thank you for your time, and I hope you found this webinar useful. And I hope to hopefully see you very shortly in September. Okay, so I think this probably makes sense now to bring this webinar to a close. And I'd like to wish you an enjoyable part of the day or evening, depending on the time in your respective countries. Okay, thanks again for your questions, and hopefully we can follow this up later.